So we're going to start up here with questions for the candidate for County Superintendent of Schools, Warren Galletti. And if you'd like to start with your opening statement.
All right. First of all, I'm a lifelong resident of Mendocino County. I was born over on the coast in Manchester. Moved to Ukiah when I was 8 years old. Attended Ukiah schools. Went on to Mendocino Community College, where I participated in athletics there, as well as receiving my AA. Was inducted into their Hall of Fame in 2007, and in 2014 was named a Distinguished Alumni, based on what I've done since going on. Then went on to the University of San Francisco.
Sorry, keep going, keep going.
Went on to the University of San Francisco, and I participated in baseball there. And the reason I say that, I think it's important. It was very challenging to balance athletics and academics, so you have to become very organized. Following graduation from there, began coaching in Point Arena, and then began teaching there. In '94, I taught, they were ROP courses then, now they're career to technical ed courses, taught physical education, health, geography, and math, and was their athletic director as well. Had an interim principal come in. We had 4 principals in 5 years, and he said, Mr. Galletti, you need to go get your administrative credential. I did so in 2000, was named principal there in 2001. So as principal of Point Arena High, principal of the continuation high school there, and had a collaborative relationship with the charter school there. We shared programs. It was a very healthy experience. Prior to leaving there, they were going to cut some programs, shop classes, and I said, no, we're not doing it. And they said, well, how are you going to do that? And I said, I'm going to teach PE to all the 9th graders. So my last 2 years as principal there, I taught PE to all the 9th graders to save shop classes, and those are important. Then I went on to my current position as Director of Student Services for Ukiah Unified, where I work with all 11 schools in the district, from school safety to all programs that serve students, in charge of the nurses, in charge of reducing suspensions and expulsions, do home visits to keep kids in school, and have developed some programs which I can talk about in some other questions.
All right, so with your permission, I'm going to go ahead and combine the first 2 questions. So the first question, so it'll be 2 questions, 1 answer maybe. The first question was, why are you running for County Superintendent of Schools? And the second question is, why do you think that you're the better candidate?
Well, I'm here. Why am I running? When I left Point Arena over there, I had folks tell me, you know what, you're going to be the next county superintendent of schools. And I said, that job has always intrigued me. So the job has always intrigued me because I believe you can make an impact on every district, every school, and every child in this county. And I truly believe that. Then I had a group of people come to me. They said, you know what, it's time for change. And this was coming from all over the county. Will you run? And I was like, well, you know what, I need to talk to Ukiah Unified and make sure they bless this. They did, and here I am, and I'm excited about it. Why am I a better candidate? 1, I'm passionate about it, and that's evident by being here. Just because my opponent has slowed the campaign, I haven't. It's that important to me. I have the experience of a small rural high school and working with a larger district. So I have that broad perspective. I also have had the privilege of going to all of these small towns as a basketball coach. While I was principal, I don't know if I shared that, I continued to coach basketball, so I had that relationship with the students. So I've been to Round Valley 30-some odd times in the last 10 years. I've been to Willits. I've been to Potter Valley, and it gave me an opportunity to talk with administration and get an idea of what's going on. I'm open-minded, I'm passionate, I have the energy. I want to get out and involve all stakeholders in each community, each district within the county. I'm very passionate.
All right, thank you. what role does MCOE play in fiscal accountability?
Well, first of all, MCOE, as far as their budget goes, there needs to be more transparency in the budget process. It's very difficult to tell what is going on. So I want to see more transparency in the budget process at MCOE. As well, you know, there's SELPA, the special ed local planning agency that they're in charge of, and there's about $15 million in that budget that can provide resources to local schools. Now districts are having to approve at the local level local control accountability plans, and that states how you are going to spend your money to serve each student in your school and your district. So the local board approves that, then the county actually has to approve that that plan. So they're approving those local budgets on assuring that they are spending their money appropriately to serve all students. So that's basically it.
So what can you do, I guess, to reword this question a little bit, what can you do as superintendent of schools to improve the delivery of services to our special needs students?
Well, again, we're the special ed local planning agency, so we're in charge of the special ed programs, the SELPA. I've said this time and time again, we need to provide training, meaningful training. We put our paraprofessionals in the very toughest classrooms, the teachers' aides in this county, with little to no training. And they're in those classrooms for a reason, because they're dealing with some challenging students. So we can provide those trainings to both certificated and classified, meaningful trainings on how to de-escalate issues, how to tier 1 interventions, how to redirect students, how to keep students on task. So those trainings and professional development are very important. Counseling services need to be increased. There's a possible grant that we're going to be receiving at MCOE. That is great, as long as those services are directly impacting campuses. If it's somebody sitting behind a desk, that doesn't serve our county very well. So providing those services, making sure that local school districts are in compliance with their IEPs. I know districts where we've struggled with home medical situations. A student will become ill and they have special needs. We still have to provide those services, and home medical is not always the best solution, but if they're to be served by a special ed department an hour a day, we have to make sure they're doing so. So trainings, compliance.
So this question is what role does MCOE play in ensuring that all students have access to computers? But maybe this is a question more about general MCOE and technology for students.
Yeah, this is a challenge, we know. But MCOE can support districts. In Ukiah, we came up with a strategic plan, and this was district-wide, and the whole community was involved, and then we narrowed that down into our LCAP, our Local Control Accountability Plan. But as part of that plan, we developed and it's a large district, 5,700 students, so that's a challenge. You have to come up with a solid plan on a rollout. So this year, grades 3, 5, 9, and 11 are going to receive computers. And then the following year, the other grade levels. So within 4 years, that large district is going to, they're going to have one-to-one devices. So it's coming up with a plan, and it needs to be in that local control accountability plan again. And I know I keep referring to that, but that states what you're going to do. And I believe that MCOE needs to take a very active role in the development of those plans. Right now, MCOE is reviewing plans. I don't think the review would be near as difficult if we were involved in the development of the plans with the community as a whole. And a bigger issue is connectivity. That's a huge issue. There's a $26 million grant that the state has, and we are trying as a county to get funds for these schools, and I know Leggett is one of the schools that's a possibility, and Round Valley, but connectivity is an issue, and I've been working with the Broadband Alliance as well.
So this is a question on the MCOE's Career and Technical Education Program. So which include manufacturing and product development, building and construction trades. So what would you do to expand these and other trade programs to the high schools?
Well, first of all, I'm very passionate about these programs because I believe they not only teach students skills, but they keep kids in school. And like I said, when I was principal, that's why I continued to teach one of those classes. I am endorsed by Arturo Reyes, the president of Mendocino Community College, and would love to work with him, one, on expanding pathways, because now your CTE programs have to be sequenced. You can't just have Auto 1 and then automotive, advanced automotive. You have to have Auto 1, Auto 2, Auto 3 to stay in compliance. Arturo and Mendocino College are excited about this, but it's also getting out to each community, meeting and working with all stakeholders, and communities are going to have to put an emphasis on these programs so they go in that LCAP to assure that we don't lose them, because these programs are the first to go, along with athletics and drama and arts, and they are what keeps many kids in school. And many of these students that go on to trade school are easier, they're having an easier time being employed than the student that goes off to college. So it's very, very, very important, and it's just getting out, working with communities. And I'd like to see internship programs where students actually get out in the community and they can work and practice these skills in the workforce. So getting out there and working with communities.
What would you do to expand the Young Parent Program beyond just Ukiah High School to help pregnant teens and parenting teens throughout the county?
Well, there's the California School-Age Families Education Program. That funding is through 2014's CalSafe program. Round Valley used to have it. Point Arena used to have it. But looking into grants, this is not an easy fix. It's working together with communities, because funding is an issue on this one. And beyond 2014, 2015, we're not sure where that funding is going. But I know, like in Tulare County, their first 5 is working in collaboration with the county schools in providing these parenting. So it may be partnering with communities, with community foundations, community organizations, along with the education system. But I don't have a real solid answer other than looking for grants, working together with the community and the organizations there, and trying to find the funding. And with the CalSafe program, you know, it's not only, students are not only receiving their education, but daycare is provided and parenting classes. But like I say, I looked at Tulare County has a pretty model program that I would like to research further.
All right, and our final prepared question is, what visionary program, I guess in your vision maybe, what visionary program do you see that would best serve the students in the county in the future?
I mean, you know, this is a matter of meeting with districts and coming up with common needs, but I can tell you this, the suspension rates and expulsion rates and truancy are huge countywide. I can tell you that. So in Ukiah Unified, we've developed, and I actually facilitated the entire process, a restorative practices program. And I believe that should have been, I actually did invite, Fort Bragg came over as part of the training. I believe MCOE should have been providing this training because it is a county-wide issue. Ukiah Unified reduced their suspensions by 42% last school year. And it's about students taking accountability for their actions and understanding who they harmed and how many people they impacted, because they impact a whole lot of people, and they're just seeing it as myself impacting Joe. Well, if I impact Joe, I'm impacting Joe's parents. I'm impacting the principal that he had to deal with. I'm impacting the teacher. So it's taking ownership, and then a county-wide SARB, a Student Attendance Review Board. That needs to be, we need a county-level program there. I've been to Sacramento working on that. I've been on a task force here in this county where if students aren't meeting the directives of their SARB contracts and not attending school, it would go to the county level. And I'd like to see the DA get involved in that. And then One other program that I'd really like to see that would support our CTE programs is a countywide internship program. I think that we lack that. Schools and children and high school students don't have the opportunity of getting out and learning the skill that they're being taught. And that's doable. We got to get out there to accomplish that.
So I think we can take just a couple quick questions from the floor, and we'll just start towards the front and work our way back. So I think, Mr. Ornstein, yours is the first hand I saw.
When I was principal, I had guest speakers come in from the colleges, from deans to counselors, and they would explain what it was like. But more importantly is creating that college-going culture where you actually take students and let them visit colleges as well. Because many of our students, especially in some of these areas, they haven't been to even San Francisco. And we don't see a sign on the freeway, UC Davis, next right. So I think it's important to expose them, have them tour, but also learn the rigor in a nutshell. But guest speakers, right, at the high school level, I mean, that's where we're dealing with them. I mean, and many students don't know at that time. I mean, the college is going to be preparing them for that more. You know, if you're going into the teaching profession, you're doing the student teaching, so you get a taste of that. I believe an internship program could benefit that.
Warren, you talk about internship program, and I like it very much. What I've heard you say so far is all from the point of view of the school, the internship program for the students. I would say in order to have an internship program, you've got to reach out into the community so that people like Larry Stransky, who is fabulous at jewelry making and has a shop and a business, would be open to having a young person mentor with him, or me working with the community theater, Mike Adair, reporting, all the people here that do wonderful things. It would seem that it would be more than just in the schools you'd need to deal with. It seems that you would need to go into the community to get us in line with you and with the students. How would you plan on doing that?
There's no doubt about that. I'm just going to use the internship program that I started in Point Arena. I had all of the restaurants, we had the local businesses, we had the auto mechanic. Just called them and scheduled a meeting, and the students weren't even involved in this to begin with because we had to develop the vision. Then we had the students involved. They actually went through the interview process. We had them placed in businesses for about 2 months, and the economy went flat on its face, and they were having to lay off their own employees, so they were in our internship program. But well, it was difficult to control the economy, but I believe the economy's turning around enough now that where we could revisit this. But it does take an entire community. It takes many, many businesses because you have to have a broad array of experience.
Do you have any vision regarding changes to current funding and implementation for the school nurse services and or school-based clinics?
I actually supervise the school nurses in Ukiah Unified and meet with them constantly. They are very, very important. But again, it goes back to that local control accountability plan. With that plan, local districts have more control over their funds than they used to. So there has to be an emphasis on that. But I'm very, very supportive of school nurses, healthy living styles, physical activity, very important. I sit on our health advisory committee and our wellness policy committee, so I would certainly put an emphasis on that. Hiring school nurses is a challenge right now, and I was able to do so through heavy recruitment. We were able to hire a fourth nurse, and I worked very hard in doing so because it's a challenge to hire them because they can make more money in other areas. But I certainly support school nurses, and they are just so valuable to school-based clinics. I opened, as principal of Point Arena High School, I opened the clinic in collaboration. There's one right on our campus, working with Redwood Coast Medical Center.
Yeah, right here in the front.
My question goes to ag in school and the importance of that. Locally, our FFA chapter is actually starting an alumni association just because it's so hard to get funding for programs like that. Is there anything that you could think of to do to encourage agricultural education, and do you think that's important?
I think it's as important as the CTE programs. In reality, it's just the funding issue. But I believe if a community really believes in that, and you get a coalition together, that's how we make things happen. And the larger the group is, the more likely it is of happening. But funding is an issue. The closest we came to have an ag over there was a horticulture, and we have that now in Ukiah Unified. But again, it needs to be an emphasis, and I think ag is so important. But it's funding is an issue. Working together, and the larger the group of people, the louder we are.
All right, I think that's all the time we have. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to come back, and Ginger Polson from the Women's Political Coalition is going to do a bit on the ballot propositions. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you for inviting me.
Okay, we are really over time, so I'm going to cut my presentation short. First of all, I want to thank everybody. My name is Ginger Polson. I'm a member of the Mendocino Women's Political Coalition. One of our goals is to educate voters, and we believe that a informed voter makes better choices. I hope you leave here tonight feeling confident that you will be your vote for, and that your vote will be counted. On the board over here, to your left, is the judges that we very rarely pay attention to. These are important positions to ratify their appointment. They have been appointed by the governor to that position, and when they are appointed to the Supreme Court, how the ratio of their vote counts. If they aren't overwhelmingly voted for, and then the governor believes that the people of California support that judge. You should look into judgepedia.org, and we're Division 1, and study the judges if they represent your views. About the dropping your mail-in ballot at the polls. When you drop off your ballot at the polls, it doesn't get started to be counted until Thursday after the election. By state law, they have 28 days to be counted. Mendocino County usually does it within 2 weeks. So if you want your vote to be counted on election day, mail it early, no later than Thursday before the election. How do you know if your vote has been received? You can check the county website at www.co.mendocino.ca.us. On the homepage of the departments, the assessor, the clerk, the recorder, the elections. Scroll down to the elections, and then you'll find a list. And on there is the current election results, where you can follow the election outcome for that evening and the next day and 2 weeks. The other billeted thing is vote by mail, quote, preferences absentee status. This is where you'll find if your ballot has been received. You fill in the information, and it will tell you your status. So if you mail your ballot and you want to see if it's received within 4 days, go to see if it's received. If it isn't, find out why. So the number to call and it's kind of hard to find. If you have any questions, call the County Elections Department at 707-234-8619, and that's the Elections Department. If you have any questions about your ballots not showing up as being received. The water bond. So it just so happens that yesterday we got a supplement for the water bond. The assessment, instead of being $7.1 billion in additional general obligation bonds. It's now 7.545. So it's gone up. We are torn in the North State, okay? Historically, the majority of the California surface water comes from the Sierra Nevada and Northern California. Much of the state's surface water is delivered into the Central Valley farmland and to the population centers of the Bay Area and Southern California. There's already a pipeline that takes, is it Trinity water, over to the Sacramento River. Our assembly member, Wesley Chesborough, stated when the water bond measure is a bad deal for the North Coast. It includes $2.7 billion for water storage projects, dams, and reservoirs, increasing pressure for diversion of more Northern California river waters. I believe that the water bond shortchanges the people of North Coast, and as their representative in the legislature, I felt compelled to vote against it. All right, local districts are supporting this because local districts believe, well, local water districts, cities, things, they believe that they will receive funds for this project. You have to remember the way that they give funds is those most out of compliance. So you should have received this supplemental thing. So kind of, if you're serious about this, dig into it and see whether it's good for us or not. It's probably not, but it's, you know. You have your Easy Voter Guide in front of you. I want to tell you that if you go to the easyvoter.org, I think it is, and smartvoter.org, you will find a lot more information to make a informed decision about what you're voting for. Okay, the rainy day fund. Okay, the question is, should the state of Constitution be amended to change how the state pays down debt and saves money? That's the question they're asking you on the Proposition 2. Both of these, Proposition 1 and 2, are state legislators. The state legislature put them on. Prop 45, healthcare insurance rates. The question is, should change in some health insurance rates require the insurance commissioner's approval before they go into effect? You'll read and see what it is. About 17% of the Californians that have insurance are not covered under a plan that protects them and negotiates for them. Proposition 46, drug and alcohol testing of doctors' medical negligence lawsuits. Okay, the question, should California require a random drug testing of doctors, require doctors to check a statewide database before prescribing certain drugs, and raise the cap on non-economical damages in medical negligence lawsuits from $250,000 to $1 million? Read this, know what you're voting for. Proposition 47, criminal sentence, mandatory penalties. The question is, should the penalties for certain offenders convicted of non-serious, non-violent crimes be reduced from felonies to misdemeanors? And you have to make that decision. You'll see what the financial impacts are, and you really should go to Smart Voter because they give you a lot more information about what the financial cost is to the state and what the benefits would be to local governments anyway. Okay, now we come up with Prop 48, which is the Indian Gambling Compact. So, should the Tribe Gambling Compact, negotiated by Governor Brown with North Fork and the Wiyot tribes, be ratified by legislative statute, be allowed to go into effect? This has gone through the state and the feds and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. They've all approved this. and so is our legislator. For more details and information on props, go to smartvoter.org. Now we're going to have a 5-minute presentation from Tim Rice on Measure S.
I've got 5 whole minutes
Yeah.
to cram 2 weekend seminars and a number of books that got me to the understanding that Measure S is the most important thing that you will have heard here tonight. Obviously, we want you to vote yes on S. But anyway, so one of the things that gives humans grief is things we don't know, right? Well, there's an even bigger one. Those things that we know that aren't so. And, one of the things that we grew up believing was that we live in a free country, There's some interesting history that we've got. Key points. Where we are now. Corporations have more rights than people. It started way back in 1819 with a Dartmouth decision. Over the last 191 years, there's been various judicial decisions that have given corporations more and more rights over the years to where they have more than us. So corporations have the most rights. With state law, preemption, nullification, Dillon's rule, and stuff like that, they're put above local law and we the people. It's a top-down kind of structure. Not what they had before the Revolutionary War. Massachusetts colony, they knew what democracy was. They took back their colony. When the new governor came in, started putting his cronies in the judge positions, they said, hey, wait a minute, we're taking back our freedom. They shut down that system, rebuilt it like they wanted. British didn't like that. Revolutionary War happened. We had, Declaration of Independence came in, said, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. All that kind of stuff, right? What's unalienable? Does anybody know what unalienable is? Incapable of being alienated, that is, sold and transferred. That's Black's law. Can't be taken away. These are the rights that we have just by being born. That was the understanding that our country is built on, that we have certain unalienable rights, that the government is instituted to secure the rights of the people, not the rights of corporations, the rights of the people down here at the bottom. Got a little turned upside down. So the key points, Measure S is a community bill of rights that's going to put we the people at the top. It's declaring our sovereign right to govern. So, law. There's basically 2 kinds of law. Defining law and case law. Lawyers deal with case law. Most judges deal with case law, except when they choose to change things and say, oh, no, it's different than how it went before. Defining law is laws that the legislature puts in place. Defining law is like the Constitution of the United States. That's defining law. They said, us rich white men get to make all the decisions. Women, they don't count. Slaves, they don't count. Oh, no, they count 3/5. Ordinance, right there in the statements of law. Let me read you 2A. Has anybody read the ordinance? Mm-hmm. Oh, cool, like 3 people. Excellent. Right to community self-government. All residents of Mendocino County possess the right to form a government where they live, which recognizes that all power is inherent in the people and that all free governments are founded on the people's consent. Use of the Mendocino County government by the sovereign people to make law and policy shall not be deemed by any authority to eliminate or reduce that self-governing authority. Basically, we're taking back the freedom in this country, one county at a time. In the prohibitions section, we get into the fact that, so, we've got the right of self-government, we're claiming the right to clean water, air, and soil, we're claiming the right to be free from chemical trespass as it relates to fracking, okay? We're banning fracking because it violates our right to clean air, water, and soil, chemical trespass, that sort of thing, all the toxic fracking fluids, that sort of thing. And the rights of natural communities and ecosystems to survive and thrive. Fracking destroys those too. So we're claiming those rights. And we've got we've got our enforcement section, we've got the invalidating so-called corporate rights as it relates to our banning of fracking. So if they come in and try to frack, we nullify their superior rights that they've gained through judicial decision in the last 191 years. And it turns it around so that we're on top and we decide what's happening here locally. And I'm probably way out of time. And I left out a lot.
There's also Measure Q in Laytonville, and to be sure to educate yourself on that bill if you're interested in supporting it.
Thank you, Tim. I think this really helped understand the whole picture of what we're trying to pass in Measure S. So I hope people pay attention to it. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the Willits Weekly and the MWPC for sponsoring this forum, and many, many thanks to Lois, our timekeeper. Lois will be at the table at the MWPC. She is a leadership role in MWPC for recruiting young women and all women. And we do accept men in our organization as supporters. So, and we have had them for many years. You know, I'd like to thank the Willits Community Television and the Modern Music Sound Service. And thank you for coming. I don't know how this community would be informed without them. Thank you all for coming. And for those of you watching on Channel 3, remember to use your voice and vote. Good night, everyone.